We start tonight with the forecast. After beautiful weather across the area today, we're tracking more of that same weather as we head into the work week. Thank you so much for staying up with us tonight. I'm Rachel Williams. Meteorologist Scott Covert starts our coverage in the Weather Center with a first look of tonight's forecast.
Yeah, tonight our skies are going to stay nice and clear. Temperatures dropping into the low 50s, maybe a couple of locations, maybe like Clarksville, dropping into the 40s. Key takeaway is those numbers aren't going to drop off too much overnight tonight, and that sets us up for a really mild and, dare I say, pleasant Monday. Let's plan it out for you. Waking up in the 50s, clear skies by lunchtime. Northwest Arkansas already in the upper 60s. By that afternoon, evening drive home, we're still going to be in those low 70s. Lots of sunshine all across the area again tomorrow. By lunchtime in the River Valley, we're already going to be in the 70s tomorrow, well on our way into the mid to upper 70s. We're likely to challenge, if not break, some all-time record highs tomorrow afternoon. So not only is tomorrow going to be warm, but I'm looking at a really tricky cold front that's going to be arriving sometime Tuesday. It may result in some cooler temperatures, but if we can keep it just off to our north, maybe we've got a couple of more nice mild days. I'll tell you why it's so tricky coming up in your full forecast. But then we're also going to have to turn our attention to some other big changes. While it may feel like spring out there today and over the next couple of days, Old Man Winter not too far away. In fact, I'm tracking some colder temperatures here in just a few days. Details on that coming up in that brand new 10-day forecast.
All right, thanks, Scott. Arkansas State Police announced the arrest of a suspect after a body was found near an I-40 rest area. Darius Simmons was taken into custody 4 weeks after the death of German Portillo Batres. The victim's body was found near the rest area by Ozark, and state police investigators say Simmons was arrested in Michigan and is charged with first-degree murder and aggravated robbery. He's still awaiting extradition to Arkansas. Well, today, the Gravette Fire Department rallied behind one of their firefighters, Tyler Shambles. This morning, the fire department held a pancake breakfast for the community in order to raise money for Shambles, who was injured in an off-duty motorcycle accident. 5 News reporter Parker Abels tells us more about this event and his condition.
Since January 31st, Tyler Shambles has been fighting for his life in the ICU after a devastating motorcycle accident. And when a man who means so much to the community needs help, the rest of the community steps up.
The community was trying to figure out what they could do to help us in our time of need, which we very much appreciate, by the way. And so our Women's Auxiliary, they're a nonprofit organization that helps the fire department. They decided to hold this pancake breakfast. And of course, all of the money will be given to Tyler and his family to help them during this difficult time.
Before the breakfast Sunday, the fire department already raised around $4,000. Community members say it's the least they can do.
He's always there whenever people need him, and you know it's no different when he needed us. The outpouring of love and support has been nothing short of amazing. We're extremely blessed for this community support. We could never thank you all enough.
He is known to be a big part of the community and contributing in any way he can, so it's important for us to want to give back to that family that gives so much to their own communities.
And after the breakfast, the proceeds went up to almost $15,000, and Alicia Harp with the Gravette Women's Auxiliary hopes that money they raised can help them beyond Tyler's time in the hospital.
We are hoping to be able to support them for quite a while, even after Tyler gets home, so that the family can just relax and focus on him healing.
And most importantly, Travis Harp with the department says Tyler is starting to get better.
As of last night, they did a procedure and they put a stent in his head so he could drain some of the pressure off of his brain. His intracranial pressure has returned to somewhat normal, and they anticipate within the next couple of days taking him off of life support.
In Gravette, covering news where you live, Parker Abels, 5 News.
If you're feeling generous and want to donate to Tyler and his family, you can go to the Gravette Fire Department Facebook page or go to our website, 5newsonline.com. Happening this week, Oklahoma state lawmakers returned to the Capitol to start their legislative session. More than 3,000 bills have already been filed for consideration this year. Governor Kevin Stitt is also scheduled to give his State of the State address. He's previously suggested a 0.5% income tax cut for individuals and businesses. Well, in Arkansas, lawmakers are 3 weeks into this year's legislative session, and we're checking back in with our area's legislators. We previously talked to Senator Bart Hester before the session started about work being proposed for Arkansas law. The Cave Springs senator continues to call for changes in higher education.
We're desperate for engineers in all aspects of life, from southern Arkansas to northwest Arkansas to northeast Arkansas. We need engineers. So we're going to fund areas that we need. We're going to fund less areas like that end in studies.
Educator and Representative Dr. Diana Worthen-Gonzalez has also co-sponsored many education bills, but continues to work on voting access.
Right now, it's pretty cumbersome by having, a form to fill out, and then having to then take it to the county clerk's office or mailing it into the Secretary of State. There can be a much easier process.
One of the bills signed by the governor this legislative session will also allow Northwest Technical School in Springdale to hire a president with an industry background rather than just educational experience. The rate of homelessness among those 50 and over is dramatically increasing, so much that a shelter in Rogers is expanding. 5 News anchor Darren Bobb tells us about the way station.
The over 50 population that's homeless is the largest, fastest growing demographic of homeless people.
Donna Schillinger is executive director at the Way Station. The nonprofit that began just a few years ago actually operates 2 programs: transitional housing for those 50 and over, and a day shelter for those in that same age group. She says homelessness among the older population is becoming a health crisis.
When a person becomes homeless after age 50, their mortality risk goes up 350%. That's 20 years less than the average person that they'll leave on average.
The building those programs are in right now has become too small. That's why just last week they took ownership of a new building in Rogers, which will allow the program to expand.
We're largest and most effective homeless services provider. I mean, we've got other shelters that do the night shelter piece, or we have other transitional housing as well, but we do both of those. We do the large shelter numbers plus the transitional housing. When we move Way Station, that will enable us to expand for 6 more individuals here. So that will make this the largest transitional housing in Benton County as well.
The move will also allow the programs to expand services.
It's going to allow us to spread out and to focus on some of these job training and productivity activities. So we're actually going to do some in-house things. We're going to look at micro enterprise for anybody who wants to start a small business, coaching them on what those steps would be, and maybe seeing if we compare them with a mentor. Doing things like construction skills, on-the-job training.
Schillinger says one of the best ways to help with the older generation, having affordable housing.
There's little pockets of developments that have like 10% reserved for affordable housing. That might be 100 units. We saw 650 families last year, and we're not going to see the same 650 this year. So, and every time you get an eviction, there's a person who cannot go into an apartment again for a long time.
In Rogers, covering news where you live, I'm Darren Bobb, 5 News.
The Way Station is always looking for volunteers. Schillinger says the best way to do that is to simply call the office.